Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan, and welcome back to Japan Vintage Camera. I'd hoped to do this video outdoors today because right now the cherry blossoms are almost at their peak. I've been kind of complaining recently that the cherry blossoms are very late this year. According to the old timers, they should have started blooming back on March 18th. And of course, it wasn't until, I guess, the 31st or so that they actually started coming out. So now they're finally here and everyone's going out to enjoy them. And when I was going to go out and make a video today at the park underneath the cherry blossoms, it decided to start raining. So unfortunately, I'm stuck indoors. Tomorrow the weather's supposed to be nicer, and I plan to get on my bike and ride through some of the more famous cherry blossom areas here. And I plan to upload the video of that on my cycling channel. So if you'd like to see that, check out my cycling channel. I'll post a link to the channel in the description below the video. So on to the subject of today's video, and today I'm going to be talking about what I mentioned in my most previous video on this channel, the Horseman press. This particular one is the Topcon Horseman Press 970, which was released in 1963, quite a long time ago. Topcon is a very well-known company here in Japan. They're still in business today, and they are mainly a manufacturer of surveying and precision optical equipment. Back in the day, they produced a variety of cameras and photographic accessories and things like that, and they had a very good reputation here in Japan. They weren't so widely exported like, say Minolta, Nikon, Canon, and other makers. But here in Japan, they were quite popular. And this camera here, you may maybe not so many people have seen one of these, but these were sold like hotcakes here in Japan, despite the fact that in 1963, 35mm film was pretty much done as I guess the format that professional press photographers were using. I don't know why they called this the press camera or a press camera, because it generally wasn't used by press photographers. But the photographers who did use it, lots of them bought it, and there were lots and lots of these made. And the good thing about these cameras, besides the camera itself, it was part of a pretty comprehensive system for which they made maybe half a dozen lenses and things like a variety of different film backs and controls and things like that. And I'll go over those as I get through the video here. So what this camera basically is a compact large format camera which uses medium format film. And it features all of the cool things which come on a more high-end large format camera. And these things are mainly about perspective control. And perspective control is very important in things like architecture or commercial photography or product photography, where you need your image to look in the proper proportions from top to bottom, front to back, and side to side. If you're taking a picture of a cereal box in a studio and you're using a light box and the camera's somewhat close, it's kind of hard to get a perfectly proportioned photo unless you are able to alter the perspective of the camera to adjust the perspective of your subject. So for example, if you're taking a picture of a box of cereal, you want it to be kind of the same size on the top and bottom, even if you're taking the picture from not dead center. You want to have like the box of cereal on a table with other things around it, but you want it to look where, you want it to show in the photo is a square box where you can read the labeling and the decoration on the box. That's also an important part of marketing. And with cameras like this, you're able to do that. And for architectural photography, it's convenient because if you're taking a picture of a tall building and you're standing near the bottom, obviously the bottom is going to look wider than the top when you are looking or photographing at it. But this camera and similar cameras allow you to adjust the perspective to make the top look a little bit wider and make it look not like you can use the effect to make a building look taller or not so tall. And it's really wonderful the things you can do with these cameras. And of course, nowadays you can do a lot of this on your computer if you're shooting digital. But even digital cameras, you can still find perspective correction lenses, and some people are still using medium and larger format cameras with digital backs because they like to be able to have the perspective control over their images. And you can do that for a pretty good price with one of these cameras. These are fairly affordable cameras compared to other medium format cameras. Things like Rolleiflexes and Hasselblads are ridiculously expensive. These cameras are not, and these cameras are actually capable of capturing higher quality images, though they're not as easy to carry around or operate as something like a Rolleiflex or Hasselblad. So let's go ahead and take a brief look at the perspective adjustments this camera has and how you can use them. The first thing this camera has is a system which allows you to shift the lens up and down. And what you can use this for is what I mentioned first, by making a tall building in front of you look a little bit less tall by widening out the top of it a little bit. Or a box of cereal. You can lift up the lens a little bit and that will widen out the top of the subject a little bit and make it look more square. The next thing you can do is you can tilt the lens. And this offers a little bit of a perspective correction, but it also offers something which is called the Scheibenflug technique. And what that is the ability to turn the lens a little bit to increase the depth of field in your image without having to close down the aperture. And this is very convenient in situations where you want to stop action a little bit but don't want to have something in the foreground out of focus or something at infinity out of focus. By using this technique, you can increase the depth of field and get more of the image from close to far in focus. It's one of the more advanced techniques in photography, and some of these will take a little bit of practice. The simple ones, adjusting perspective of vertical things, is quite easy. Other ones take a little bit of practice to get down. Another feature this camera has are what is called swings, and there's a little lever here on the bottom. If you push this down, you can twist the lens to the left or to the right. And what this does, say you're taking a picture of a block of houses. You're on one end of the street, and of course the house closest to you is taller and the houses farther down the street are smaller. What you can do is by swinging the lens, you can make the houses down the end of the street look taller, and the house which is close to you can make it look a little bit smaller, which gives you kind of a more level line. For myself, I kind of like the effect of the angular effect of having taller and shorter. But if you are doing commercial photography or you're shooting the photographs for Architectural Digest or something, and you need the image of the building or block of buildings to look square, this camera allows you to do that. What's more, this camera also has rear movements, and some of the things you can do on the front of the camera, you can also do on the back. You can actually swing out one side or the other on the back. You can tilt it on the back, or you can extend the back a significant amount, and this allows you to take macro photos or close-up photos. By increasing the distance between the lens and the film, you can move the subject closer and closer to the lens and get a close-up photo. If you are buying one of these cameras and you intend to use it for the perspective correction, make sure that it comes with a ground glass or focusing screen back. This one is fitted with one. If you pop open the door, and luckily it doesn't open easily. They make it kind of hard to open, so it doesn't get bang open and get tangled up and stuff. And here you can see the focusing screen, and when you're looking through the viewfinder with the lens open, and there's a lever you can use to hold open the lens while you're focusing. And when you are adjusting the perspective, you can focus on the different parts of the focusing screen to make sure that you're getting the proportions you want and that every part of the image is in focus. And if you are focusing it, there's also a focusing hood which pops open like so. This keeps the light off the focusing screen and makes it easier to focus. But what makes this camera most interesting is it also has a viewfinder and rangefinder system in it. So if you're using some of the original Topcon lenses, and I said there were 5 or 6 available for this camera, you can use the rangefinder focusing system, and that allows you to not have to mess with opening the focusing screen and trying to focus off the ground glass. And this back also doubles as a holder for sheet film. So you can use medium format sheet film. I don't see that much anymore, but a lot of people are still cutting down larger formats into 6x9 or 6x7 or whatever size sheets, so they can use them in the very old vintage cameras. you can do that. Or with this camera, you can simply use a roll film back. Good thing about Horseman is they made these cameras for like more than a decade in different variations, and they all use a very similar film back or roll film holder. And the basic, you can use a 6x7, 6x8, or 6x9 format. And this one looks to be a 6x8. And this allows you to use modern 120 film, and 120 film is still easy to find and relatively inexpensive. And recently, the price I've noticed has gone down. Kodak said that they were going to be reducing the price of their film due to, I guess, increased demand. And it's kind of wonderful when companies are actually making more film instead of less film. This camera features what is called a, let me put this away. I have to fold this to close it. A graph lock back, which was invented by the Graflex company, and you can simply lift up these levers. It's easier to do on the Graflex ones. You can push down on the opposite side and lift it out. And then simply we have a couple of levers here. You can probably see on either side tabs which hold the film holder in place. And you simply drop it into place like so and move the levers back. And that locks the film holder in place. And close that properly. And these ones which I've been seeing for a while are kind of a bit difficult to open and close, but simply you open the back and you take out the film magazine, and you would put the take-up spool here, and you would put the film on this side and load the film so that the film side faces outward toward the inside of the camera. You have to load these kind of opposite the way you would load like a twin lens reflex camera. And basically I like how this works. It has these push down very conveniently here, which allow you to change the spools. I wish other makers were the same. So you would put in your film here, and you would put in the take-up spool here, and you would run the film around with the film side, or the side which doesn't have the light color on the paper. Just the black side should go around here, and you wind it until the arrow lines up. There's a mark here on the inside, on the edge, and then you would put the holder back inside like so, and then close it and make sure that it's locked. This one's hasn't been used in a long time, so it's a little sticky. And then we have a film counter here. You can simply wind until the number 1 shows up in the film counter, and then you can take out the dark slide and the camera is ready to shoot. And if you're taking off the film holder, make sure to put the dark slide back in before you take a photograph. So when you are using these lenses in the camera, we have a series of stops on the bottom, and we have, I think, 5 sets of stops here, which means you can mount 5 different focal length lenses and have them preset to the camera. When you are buying the original lenses, make sure that you get the original cam. And the cam fits here in the bottom of the bed. And as you can see, as I move the focusing rack in and out, the cam bed, it moves left and right. And what that does is it moves the mirror inside the rangefinder and allows you to focus the bed of the lens precisely with the rangefinder. So changing the cam is easy. There's kind of a lock screw here, and you can simply pop out the cam like so. If you're buying lenses for these Horseman cameras, make sure that they come, if you want to use the rangefinder, make sure that they come with the cam. They should. And when you get the cam and the lens, you have to mount the cam and the lens, and then you have to set the focusing stops, and that's about 105 millimeters there. And the focusing stop, you can set them up for the different lenses. The ones which are closest to the front of the camera would be for wide angle, and farther away would be for telephoto. And then there are a variety of lenses. And you don't have to just use the Topcon lenses. You can use a variety of different medium format and even some large format lenses in this. This camera was made for, Topcon made lenses from 65 millimeter to 180 millimeter, and several different ones in between. You can go as wide as 47 millimeter on this lens, or on this camera. Just make sure that when you have the lens mounted that you don't focus it all the way back into the focusing screen or the film. That's a big no-no. And also make sure that the camera can close if you plan to leave the lens mounted inside. The original Topcon lenses, they will fold with, you can leave the lens mounted and the camera will fold up. These use a #1 shutter, I believe. You can use a #1 or a smaller shutter to fit in these focusing boards, and there are lots and lots of different lenses which you can use. And when you're focusing the camera, we have a focusing lock here, which will lock the focusing knob so it doesn't get knocked out of focus. When you are operating the camera, when you're going to take a photograph, it's pretty basic. You focus, you set your aperture, and you set your apertures here. Shutter speed is by this ring, and this is an MXV shutter, so also has a feature for a self-timer. The self-timer on this one is sticky, so I'm not going to use it, but otherwise, of course it's going to give me some trouble here, but I have to do a little bit of adjustment to this one here. But basically you have MXV. X is for the shutter sync speed, M is for manual, and V is for the self-timer. And if you use the self-timer and you push it all the way over, the self-timer will lock. And when you depress the shutter button, it gives you a few moments as the self-timer winds down and it will take a photograph. Another cool thing these have, I'll describe it well, this self-timer is very, very slowly self-timing. We have a depth of field scale here on the top, and that moves as you are focusing, and it will tell you how much depth of field you have just by looking at the scale here. I mentioned some accessories which come for this camera. Things a must-have, or one thing I should say should be a must-have, is the focusing screen. Another interesting option is this here, which is the electric grip. And this holds batteries, and what this does is it allows you to use an electric solenoid to fire the shutter. And it can also be used for triggering a flash. There were flashes made for this camera. And the 4x5 film holder, if you come across one of those, it's a really wonderful accessory to have for one of these. And another cool thing which I liked about these cameras was a slide-in light meter. And what this is it looks kind of like a sheet film holder with a light meter reading on the back, and you slide it in where you would put the sheet film holder, and then you can open up the aperture, and it will give you the correct settings you need precisely from where the light would be hitting the film. It's like the most accurate light meter system you can get for a medium format camera, and you can use them on large format cameras too. This way you can have like a through the lens light metering system on a much older school camera. Now, things to look out for these on these cameras is just basic wear and tear and deterioration. Make sure that the bellows aren't rotted and don't have holes or light leaks in them. Make sure that the shutter works, the self-timer part works on the shutter. These shutters are fairly usable, serviceable. You can unscrew the lens elements, if you need to clean the inside of the lens, and also the system allows you to use other lenses. You can simply screw and unscrew replace the elements, and of course you need a little bit of adjustment to make sure that you have them collimated correctly. But you can also, if the shutter's a little sticky, you can clean it off with a cotton swab with some solvent or whatever. These old cameras are really convenient when it comes to maintaining them in the field. Easy to use, very reliable, few things to go wrong. And you figured this camera was made in the 60s, but this kind of technology was from the 19th century. And so from the 19th century to the 1960s, a lot of improvement was done in the quality of the metal and the optics and the mechanisms and all that. But still to have, as late a camera as this and as user serviceable as it is, I just like the way they do that. And it's one of the reasons I prefer kind of the older vintage cameras over some of the newer ones, because if you have to make repairs or adjustments yourself, you can do it. It's not so difficult, and you don't need any specialized tools for it. The camera folds up. Make sure that you focus the camera to infinity. Push down the two levers, and that pops up like so. And you can put this camera inside a typical camera bag. It's not light. This would weigh about as much as a professional DSLR with a fast zoom lens on it, but maybe be a little bit more cumbersome and more difficult to handle. But if you're going to take a photograph, you can simply fold it down, pull it out to the stop, take out your light shield, and simply focus, set your shutter and aperture, and then take a photograph. Just make sure that you don't open it up while the dark slide is out. It can be operated quickly, and if you've ever seen old press photographers and old movies from the 1940s and 50s, it's amazing how quickly they can take photographs when they're using sheet film holders, which hold only 2 sheets of film per holder. Something like this with a roll film back, you can use it quite quickly, quite easily, and with a little bit of practice, you'll have a lot of fun with it. Anyway, this video is getting kind of long now, and it looks like the rain has stopped, so hopefully maybe I can go out and take the dog for a walk, because he kind of ain't annoyed with me for not going on a walk earlier today. If you have any questions about this video, or if you want to add any information about the Horseman 970 press camera, or if you have any stories you'd like to share, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I've got some more ideas for videos lined up over the next few weeks. If you'd like to see those, please subscribe. And if you like the video, please click the like button. That always helps. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon.